It's late October here in Magnolia Bend, and now is one of the best times of year to get new plants in the ground, perennials, because it gives some time for the root systems to establish a bit. We've still got a few more months of warm weather left, relatively warm weather, before the cold sets in. So we've been planting a lot of perennials in the past few weeks and months. And what I want to do today is get some new boysenberry plants in the ground. Earlier this year, we had prepared this extension of our boysenberry row. So that's what we're going to do today. But first, let me show you how the existing boysenberry plants are doing and what I've been doing to prepare them for the winter. So these are the primocanes that we came out here and trellised about 4 months ago. I think it was around the end of June when we came out here and did this. And they've been growing quite well. I've been cutting off all the side shoots, the suckers, from them throughout the summer, and that allowed them to focus all of their energy into these main canes, and that's why they've grown so long. They're actually wrapped around here. It's kind of hard to see because they're stacked on top of each other. But now that it's starting to cool down, I've stopped cutting the side shoots off. You can see they're starting to grow some here. I think this is one here, yeah. And I'm not gonna cut any more off now because, like I said, we've got maybe 1 or 2 more months of relatively warm weather left. And during that time, I want them to grow those side shoots as much as they can because that's what's gonna bear a lot of the fruit in the spring, the flower buds and the fruit. So now's about the time of year when I'll stop cutting the side shoots off around late September, October. It's not really an exact date. It kind of depends on whether you want less bigger fruit or more smaller fruit. It's one of those type of things, so it's kind of up to you. I mean, the plant's got a finite amount of energy that it can produce or use to make the berries, right? But either way, like I said, they've been doing well. Now they'll just continue to grow these laterals. These laterals will hopefully kind of harden off before the freezes, and then they'll sit there through the winter. Around probably February, we'll come back out here and shorten the laterals a little bit if they're getting too long, some of them, to, I don't know, maybe like a foot, maybe 14 inches, something like that. Hopefully we don't get any late freezes that kills all the flower buds, and we'll get some good berries from these next year. So that's what's been going on with the existing boysenberries. Now let's work on the new boysenberries. If you watched the last boysenberry video, you may remember that I tried to propagate some of our boysenberry cuttings that we removed in June, and unfortunately I wasn't successful in rooting any of them. I don't know exactly why. I mean, I tried to leave them outside at first, but I mean, even in the shade, it's like 95 degrees, so I think it was just way too hot. But even after I brought them inside and put them under the grow lights in stable conditions, I still couldn't get any to root. I kept trying with some new cuttings as I would cut those suckers off. I tried, you know, different lengths of cuttings and stuff like that. I just wasn't able to get any of them to root. It could be the soil. I might have had it too wet, or maybe we need rooting hormone after all. I don't know. We'll continue to experiment with that because I do want to figure out how to propagate these things. It might be a time of year thing too. Maybe I need to do it in the spring. But anyway, I couldn't get it to root. So I went ahead and bought 5 new boysenberry plants, these seedlings, from a place called Stark Brothers. I think it's in Missouri. And they got here yesterday. So we're gonna try to get them in the ground today. They look pretty good. FedEx kind of beat them to shit en route, but I mean, that's to be expected when you order plants in the mail, it's gonna happen. But I think they're okay. They look pretty good to me. You know, boysenberries are not a weak plant. Blackberries in general are very strong. I mean, they grow like weeds. There's one growing on the ground right here that we might actually try to dig up eventually. I think that one actually layered over when one of the vines laid on the ground and it started growing there, and maybe I cut it and then it kept growing, it rooted there. So anyway, so this is what we're gonna put in the ground, but first we have to prepare the ground, and I'm gonna show you how we're gonna do that now. So the first thing to do is to remove this grass that I've mulched the actual row with. This is grass that I scythe this whole area, I don't know, in the late summer, maybe a couple times, and put this grass here try to kind of kill the torpedo grass, not really kill it, but suppress it, let's say. And so let's take that off and see how suppressed the grass actually is. Once we get it off, hopefully we can dig up the top layer of grass at least and remove it, but we got to see what it looks like first. So let's do that now. So we still got a layer of marsh grass. Remember, that's what we initially put on this when we built the row. So I'm gonna try to scrape that off with this steel rake and move that too. And then we can finally see what the ground looks like underneath. You can see some torpedo grass peeking up through here. I mean, I've come out here several times and weeded it, like pulled the ones that come up out, even as I mulched it. So, you know, it helps. This stuff is really hard to kill, but this does a good job. So I'm gonna move this now. Let's see what we got. There's not much grass under there, at least on the surface. Looks pretty dead. I think I'm gonna throw this marsh grass in the compost bin. It's really rich now, especially that bottom part that's been decaying for months in the sun. I think that would compost well. Yeah, I'm not seeing much grass at all on the top. It's a lot better than I thought it'd be, actually. I was expecting to be a mat of dead grass under here, but it looks like it died and the microbes and stuff decayed it. Yeah, that's pretty good. See, we've got a few, that's actually, I think that's dollarweed, but we've got a few stolons creeping up, but they're few and far between. It's mostly bare soil. So that mulch worked really good. I mean, it was a lot of mulch though. I probably had that grass piled 3 feet high up here at times, you know, before it started getting compressed down as it decomposed. See, this one's creeping in from the side anyway. Look at that. That torpedo grass, that's what we're trying to kill. But like I said, it did a pretty good job. All right, I'm gonna wheelbarrow all this marsh grass to the compost bins, and when I get back, we'll check the soil, pull out any of the torpedo grass stolons. I still see a few here and there, and then we'll start digging. All right, I got all the marsh grass moved to the compost, and you can see here that we've got a few torpedo grass here and there, but they're coming in from the side. See, I've only got the walkways mulched with a light layer of wood chips. It's not really enough to keep them from going under it and coming up here. They're pretty strong. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna pull these rest of these out. We're gonna end up not having to do as much digging as I thought, which is a good thing. I thought, like I said, I thought there was gonna be a thick layer of dead grass here, but that's not the case. So the soil looks really good. So I'm gonna remove these. See, there's a dead one right there. They store energy in the roots underground. I guess they're technically stems, but they store energy in these. That's why even if you cut off the top completely, it can grow back because the energy is in here. But if you starve it enough, it becomes weak. and then it dies enough for something to actually start decaying it, which is what we wanted. That worked pretty good. I mean, it took a lot of grass for just a small little, you know, I think this is like 27 feet by 2 feet maybe. So it took quite a bit of grass to do this. It wouldn't be feasible for a giant area unless you've got just tons and tons of grass or something to cover it up with. But it worked here. I'm happy with the outcome. If you watched any of our previous videos, you might have seen me out in the garden digging this soil pretty deep and putting compost way down in there. I don't think it hurts anything, but it might be a little bit of a waste of compost because most of the vegetables and stuff that we grow aren't putting roots down 3 foot deep. I mean, if you're planting like fruit trees or, you know, or something like that, it might make a difference. But here, I think what I'm gonna do is just dig about the first foot and not even really remove it, just kind of loosen it up with this pick. And then once that's all nice and loose, I'm gonna mix this compost with it, mix that all up real good. And that's all I'm really gonna do here. I'm not gonna go super deep. I don't think it needs it. And that's gonna save a lot of time. So we'll get started with that now. A lot of tree roots in this. It's so dry. We're in the middle of a severe drought. As you can see, it's quite windy. There's a storm on its way through. It's supposed to hit tomorrow. That's one reason why I'm trying to do this today. But we really need the rain that it's supposed to bring. I'll bet in the past 2.5 months, we've only had like 2.5 inches of rain for that whole period of time. So we really need the rain, but it does have me a little concerned about these seedlings. They might get beat up, and I'll show you what I'm gonna do about that once we get them in the ground. But first, let me bust up some of this soil, kind of loosen it up. I think when we dig that big 2,000 square foot section of garden next year, that I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm not gonna dig real deep because, for one thing, it just uses way too much compost. And I don't really think the plants can access it too much anyway, way down there. I mean, it probably is beneficial in some sense, but it's probably not worth it. Just kind of dig this up, break all these chunks up. All right, it's looking like we might get rained out, but let's see how much we can get done first. I've dug up the first foot and a half of soil and busted all the chunks up real good, pulled out all the remaining little chunks of torpedo grass and roots and stuff like that. And now I at least want to spread this compost and kind of mix it in the top before we quit. So let's do that now. Might have to go get some more. We can get this in there before it rains. The rain will leach some of the nutrients and microorganisms and stuff out of the compost down into the soil, which is what we want, before the sun comes out and bakes and kills everything on top, you know. Although we're gonna have it pretty mulched when we're done, so that wouldn't happen too much. I'm gonna have to go get some more compost to finish up, and we're gonna put a little bit more around the places where we plant them too. All right, let me run get a little more compost and I'll be right back. All right, we might put a little more compost on there before we're done, but let's plant the plants now before it really starts raining. Boysenberry plants have roots that spread out about 2.5 to 3 feet, you know, in each direction. So I'm gonna plant these 6 feet apart, 5.5, probably 6 feet, let's just say, because it's 27 feet, so this should work out. We've got 5 plants. Well, yeah, I guess we'll do 5.5 since there are 5. Starting from there, we'll go 5.5 each one. See, I've been letting the primocanes grow as long as they want to, but now that I've got more plants, what I'm gonna do is trim them at like 3 feet on each side, so the plant will be 6 feet wide basically, and that way I can have more plants and each plant can produce bigger berries. There'll be fewer of them, I guess, although I don't even know if that's true. But so let's go ahead and put this one at 3 feet, I guess. Now what I'm gonna do, which I haven't really been doing with any of my stuff, but I'm gonna start doing it, is I'm gonna dig out a bigger hole than it really needs, and I'm gonna mix some compost in when I backfill it. You don't want to put compost all piled up at the bottom of the hole, because that can create like a water table or start rotting the roots and stuff like that. So you don't want to do that. But what you can do is just mix a little bit of it up together when you put the dirt back in there like that. And then that way it'll have some slow release fertilizer as it starts growing. I mean, I put compost on the whole thing anyway, but you know, more never hurts in our sandy soil especially. Tease out these bottom roots just a little bit. These aren't very root bound at all. These are really nice seedlings. Okay, don't want to plant it too deep for sure. That's the death of many plants. Okay, and then just as we put the soil back, I'll mix in some compost in with it. I'll probably end up throwing some more compost around these when I'm done, like I said. One down, 4 to go. All right, it looks like the rain's gonna hold off on us, so we should be able to finish. Before we do anything else, I'm gonna spread the rest of this compost around each of the plants. All right, now we can start putting this grass back around them. I was initially going to try to cover these up with some kind of planter pots or something because I was worried about how heavy this rain's going to be, but, well, the wind too, you know. But I think with all this grass around it, it's not going to matter. Like I said, blackberries are not a particularly weak type of plant. I mean, they grow like weeds, you know. Over there in the marsh, I don't know if they're boysenberries, but the dewberries at least, it's kind of the similar thing. It's not really something you have to baby too much, I guess. I don't want to put this mulch too close around them though. A couple inches away at least. You know, I think what I might eventually do once this grass compresses down a little bit is bring some of those wood chips and put a layer of those on top of it, maybe like just 1 or 2 inches. I don't want to make it too thick because then rain has trouble penetrating it, and when we have all these droughts, any rain that does fall, we definitely need it to go into the ground. So not too thick, but I think it would help with weed suppression and also just keeping the soil regulated temperature-wise and everything, trapping moisture, you know, all the stuff that mulch does. Just wood chips do it quite well, sometimes too well. But, you know, I might even be able to go 4 or 5 inches thick in between the plants, but right around them I wouldn't do that. We'll see. All right, well, we managed to get them in the ground and mulched before this rain hit, so that's pretty much what I wanted to do. I've got to put posts up every 10 feet or so to actually trellis them on, but I mean, they're 3 inches tall right now, so I don't think that's a big rush. If you want to know how to do that, I showed it in, I think it was the first video we did on these. I'll link it in the description, whatever it was, and check that one out to see the height and all that. Going by memory, I think it's, you put a wire at 36 inches and then another one at 60 inches, so 3 feet and 5 feet, and trellis them, you know, both ways, both directions. Check that video out, I explain it in more detail. But I'll probably do another video when we go and do these and just show how their progress, how they're doing, and how I trellis them again and all that. But hopefully these are gonna grow and add a significant amount to our boysenberries. This is probably about 35, 40 feet now of a row. I might have said it before, but eventually I want to do double this row, basically on that side where you are, and just keep going up the hill with them. You know, I mean, this grass ain't doing nothing. I can't eat it, so you might as well get rid of it. It's less to mow. And also, you know, these berries are delicious, so the more we can produce, the better. Get Kiyomi to make some more of that jam again, because man, that was so good. But anyway, I'll quit rambling. Thanks for watching, and until next time, good luck out there.